Okay, that did it. Oh god, I did it because I want to know. I have to sync this audio with this video. The setup is perfect. So anyway, welcome guys. Today I will be showing you my project on the remix Jack Harlow Set You Free remix by me.
But I know I need to. I know I need to. I'm scared.
Okay, alright, so where should we start? Let's go from the beginning, right? Let's comment on my setup here and how I make music. So every once in a while I change the way I create music or the template that I create in, because when making music, I can speak for house music because that is what I create. When you're making house music, you want to be quick with the creative stuff and you want to template the technical stuff. So that is what I do every time. I have a template that I use, which I'm thinking about sharing, maybe, I don't know. You guys let me know. But I'm using a template which has all the elements of the track set already, so I don't have to think about, okay, I have to connect this track here, I have to use this plugin, whatever. And I also don't want to like keep low number of plugins in my mix as possible, because if you put like 100 plugins, you know, it's unnecessary. It just means that you have bad samples then. So you want the sample to be good from the beginning, because the sample is where the quality comes from, not from you putting OTT on a fucking track and now it's good all of a sudden. No, you can not polish a turd, as they say. Alright, so you want to make sure that your samples are quality before doing anything. I use samples from Zenworld, which I also mentioned in the last tutorial video, and I think he has the best plugins, so shout out. I'll put the link below for his samples that I use. So let's get to it. Yeah, so I can show you what the kick sounds like right now. So this is without the bass and this is with the bass. Okay, cool, that's the kick. Then we go on to the clap. That's right, that's the clap. And then we have the hats. Those are the hats. Then we have the top loop. Okay, that's the top loop. Then we have the fills and FX channel. So those are there. So I have fills, but they're in the FX channel. Then we have the favorite part of the song, the bass. Yeah, that's cool. Then we have the vocal. I guess the meat of the song.
I'm scared to leave you, but I know I need to. I know I need to. I'm scared to leave you, but I know I need to.
Okay, yeah, that's the vocal, and then we have the instruments. That's basically the instrumental from the song. And then we have the FX bus, which is just like some things like this. You know, stuff like that. I guess you could call them fills and whatnot. But yeah, okay, so that's the whole song. Now this is what it sounds like when it's all. Let's listen to the drop, I guess, or the intro. Let's say.
You, but I know I need to. I know I need to. I'm scared to leave you, but I know I need to. I know I need to. I know I need to. I need to set you free. Move on with your life, just let you be. Hold the hands in the back of an SUV. Ain't nobody else like an SUV for you. I bleed for you. I'm on 10, fuck that, 15 for you. I love you, but I love my freedom too. I know what I must do, but I'm really just scared to leave you. But I know I need to. I know I need to. I'm scared to leave you, but I know I need to. I know I need to. I know I need to. I need to set you free. I bleed for you, I'm on 10, fuck that, 15 for you. I love you, but I love my freedom too. I know what I must do, but I'm really just scared to leave you. But I know I need to. I know I need to. I know I need to.
Okay, so that is the song. You can listen to the full thing on my channel, but so let's go to the processing, you know, how I make everything work together. First of all, the process that I go through with every sample that I put into the playlist is, if you look at it here, okay, this one I didn't do it, but you can see that it's very low on the waveform, and that is because first when I put it in, it was it was like this kick. I don't know if I moved something. No. Okay, it was like this kick. It was loud, but then I reduced it to like 10 decibels down, you know, and that gives me room in the mastering and in the process. It's called stage gauging or stage gaining or gain staging, some shit like that, you know. Gain staging. I think it's called gain staging. Anyway, that's the name of the thing. Basically, what you do is every time you put sound into your playlist, you will lower it down. You can go to like 10 decibels, 12 decibels. You can like play around with it, but you have to like lower it down so you make space for the plugins that you put on the sound in the playlist through the channel rack. The plugins make the sound higher, you know, so that is the reason why you want to reduce the sound of the samples themselves, and it also keeps the quality of the sample the highest it can be. That is one thing when I was a beginner confused me a lot, and I was like, what the fuck? And I would lower down these mixer faders, but this mixer fader doesn't actually lower down the sound of the sample. You can think about it like you distort the sound, and then you take 100 steps away from it, and you still hear it in the distance, but it's still distorted. Like, what the fuck? Crazy shit, yeah. Crazy shit. Okay, so that is one tip I want to give you, because this should made a difference, real difference for me in the production. So that out of the way, we have a kick. Let's go on to the processing of the kick. So this is the way I process my kick in this track. I think of processing in a couple of simple terms, you know. Do I want to make the sound louder? Do I want to modify the sound so it's shorter or longer? Most of the time it's shorter. So you just want to like shape the sound to be what you want it to be with the plugins. So most of these plugins are paid, but you can do these things for free by using Fruity Loops plugins or whatever. So for the kick, I have the main body of the kick. I'm using Kickstart and Kick Tweak, right? So the Kickstart plugin is actually for sidechaining, but what I'm doing here, I'm using it as an LFO. It's basically an LFO plugin. It's usually used for sidechaining, but I use it as an LFO for the kick so I can shorten the kick, because I want my kicks to be short, and it also works well with the sidechain that I put onto my bass. The sidechain is basically an volume modulation or modification. So for the kick, I have Kickstart and Kick Tweak. The Kickstart was moved, so it shortens the kick. You can see here. So it cuts off this part of the kick in the, this part of the kick is cut off. So it makes space for the bass, because this is where the bass comes in after the kick, you know. So we're making space for the kick, allowing the bass, allowing the kick to come through, and then after the kick, we're making space for the bass. That's why I keep my kicks short. Right. And the top layer of the kick, it just adds that crispiness that I like so much to the whole track, and it cuts through the track better. So this is the kick, right? And just to show you the kick tweak, it's basically like a saturation plugin or distortion plugin with a bunch of 10 presets over here, and you just pick whichever one you want. You like see what sounds good and you go with that. It's pretty simple, you know, and just don't overdo it, you know. Try to not overdo it. I know that the sounds on their own sound like good and you want to like make them saucy as fuck, but when you mix them all together, too much sauce can make the soup taste shit. It's like putting 3 spoons of salt on every fucking piece of food that you are cooking or whatever, and together it's like too much salt, bro. It's too much salt. So for the kick, h or h for the English people, H is just high, let's say. It stands for high. But yeah, it's basically telling me, okay, this is the top layer of the kick. So for the top layer, I use the sample from Blank Kick, and the sample sounds like this when modified with plugins. So I use a Fruity Parametric EQ, which I cut off most of the lows, sub, bass, and mids, and just let the high. That's why it's called the high, and because it represents the high frequency. And to make it shorter, because I don't want to have like it's basically like a click, but like a softer click. You can use hats also to substitute. You don't have to use a kick and then cut off the lows. You can use a hat and just make it shorter, make it clicky. You know, it's basically click. It's a click, bro. So Shack Transient Shaper. You can do this with any transient shaper. I just have this one. I lowered the release all the way down and I put the attack up. Basically, a release is what comes. It's like a tail, right? It's like a tail. It's like when you hit the head, it goes like the thing that fades out is the tail, and release controls the tail. The attack is the first hit in the sound, and it's basically the first hit. And basically what attack does is makes that first millisecond or whatever louder, so it gives more of a punch, you know. So you can think about it like when you're punching someone, the first contact is the start of the attack. That's why it's called the attack. All right, so the clap bus, and yeah, I forgot to mention these both kicks go into the kick bus, which is basically a group. I group them together and I saturate them together with gem dopamine. And I put a little bit of like saturation, just a little bit, you know, 0 compression, and yeah, so I put like 0.17 saturation on that. The gem dopamine is usually a plugin that is used to make vocals louder, but I said fuck it, you know, just put it on a kick. So let's move on to the claps. I have 5 more minutes here, so I will just do it. Boom. So I had to free up some space. Okay, so we move on to the claps. So we have claps here. So for the main clap, he sounds like this. My main clap, I want it to cut through the mix, and basically all the other claps are basically just what makes the main clap sound better or more professional or has more space in the mix, because you want your main elements to be heard. So for the main clap, I actually like just have a FabFilter Pro Q, and I'm reducing a little bit of the lows. Basically, no processing at all on it except of that thing. Remember, I lower every sample by 10 decibels or 12 or whatever I think it's good. About around 10 decibels in the playlist. Don't forget about that. And yeah. So that's the main clap. Then we have the wide clap. This clap is like more airy. And I made it wider. So when you go into the latest version of FL, I think is the latest one. When you go into the sample and you click on this effects target icon, you have a stereo delay over here, and you can move it into one direction or left to the right. Doesn't matter. I have it 9% to the left, and this makes the sound wider by making a delay, or like a delay in the stereo image of the clap. So every sound has a stereo image left and right, and what this does, it just moves one side of the thing a bit late, or let's say one side of the thing a bit late, right? And that makes the sound to our ears louder, but it also creates space in the mix because it actually is louder in the mix. So this changes the positioning in the stereo image, and the stereo image is actually what you want to fill out, and you want to move your instruments and samples in it, so you make space for each other and you want to fill it up, because the more filled up the stereo image is, the more fuller the track will sound. Now there is nuance to it, because you cannot just like fill the whole fucking with bullshit, because if you fill the stereo image with bullshit, you will hear bullshit. So yeah, and then we have by the way, this white clap doesn't have any processing in the channel. It just has this thing on the sample itself inside the miscellaneous functions. Oh no, sorry. No, inside the sample settings, it just has a stereo delay. So then the complementary clap. It's more of like a texture. I wanted to make the whole clap have more fat to it, right? And it also has like a Fab Filter Pro Q, because I removed the lows from 82 hertz downward and stuff. And this one doesn't have any other processing on it than this Fab Filter Pro Q3. So going to the next thing is the clap bus. So this is where all the claps are connected to, and on the clap bus I just put a 60 Hz cutoff, because I don't want any sub. Well, sub is from 80 Hz I think, but I guess I left a little bit of sub. They don't have it anyway, you know. But one mistake that also new people do is, let's say, over clean, make their mixes too clean, which causes their mix to sound thin. So a too clean mix is a too thin mix, if you want to say it like that. So then we move on to the heads. So the heads, same principle as the clap. So for the main elements, basically for the clap and the head, I use the same tactic, is just have a main one and then the wide one to make it, you know, take up more space. So this is the main one. It also has like a pretty good attack on it, and no processing at all on it. I just put it in, and this is where it's at. Pause on the put it in. Then we have the wide head, which I also put like 10% left stereo delay in the sample, and it sounds like this. I have only one earphone in my ear, so I cannot actually hear the stereo image, but if you have both in, you will hear how wide it is. And that is pretty much for the heads. On the bus, I have no processing, so there's like literally no processing other than stereo image thing on the ride here, which is not the ride, but it's the wide head. That's basically it. So yeah, the reason I'm not using any processing is because these samples don't require any processing. So it sounds good like this. You know, you don't want to overcomplicate it if the samples are good. The top dogs in the industry or whatever, they're not using too much processing, you know. They have good samples. Now maybe I'm lying, but this is what I think. So we move on to the top loop. There's actually just one top loop. That's the top loop. That's the whole top loop, and the only thing that I use on it is a Shack transient shaper. Again, just lower the release all the way down until it's very like short, and attack a little bit up so it kicks more, hits more, and also lower the volume. I lowered it to 15 decibels in the playlist, minus 15 decibels. And yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's basically it. There's nothing else on it. Now for the bass. For the bass, I also use the samples from, or not the samples, but templates or presets from Zenworld. He has multiple good packs. You can check him out. But yeah, this is the bass. I don't make the presets myself. I actually did make some, but it takes too much time, and at least for me, making music, it's at least for the bass, you know, for the basic elements of the track, I don't want to complicate them, because especially low end, you don't want to complicate your low end, because the low end itself, it's a pretty simple thing, and the more you complicate it, the worse it's gonna sound. So I just use the sample or the preset from Zenworld. It's called Funky Times, Evolution of Sounds, that's the one. And it sounds like this. I'll show you now. And I'm modulating a filter cutoff here. I'm modulating the filter cutoff here, so it opens up a little bit. Yeah, so that's what it sounds with the filter open, but yeah, that's the bass. That is the bass, but that is not the secret that makes the bass sound good, by the way. The bass is good like this, and I just have some modulations on it, filter cutoff, and that opens up the bass, basically makes the bass more progressive, whatever. And then I also have the layer to the bass. And on this bass layer, I have a EQ, which I cut off most of the bass, because it's a bass layer, and I just want to make the main bass have more grit. I wanted it to have more texture and to be more audible on the devices that don't have bass, like phones and stuff. So we have a EQ here and a little micro shift, which is actually a crazy decision, because little micro shift is actually a vocal plugin, but I put it on the layer of the bass. And that is what it sounds like. Basically what little micro shift does is adds wideness to your sounds. For the processing on my bass, I have kickstart, main thing. And maybe I should have put kickstart on the layer also, but I didn't, and it still sounds good, so fuck it. But yeah. Maybe I should put kickstart. I didn't notice it in the track to be a problem, so it's also good, but this is going to give more space for the kick, even though the track is out right now, so this doesn't really matter. You can put it, you don't have to, but yeah, I put it. So, the bass goes into the bass bus, and on the bass bus I have a Fab Filter Saturn, which is a saturation plugin, and I just have a saturation color preset over here. And I lowered the band 1 mix to 2% and the drive. I actually forgot that I have this thing here, which is actually the mix overall. Yeah, and usually you want to use this down here to lower it. So you want to like saturate it real good, and then you want to lower it to like 25% maybe. So it's just like a little bit of salt, you know, a little bit of salt. And then when you master the thing, when you master the track, then all those little salts that you put are going to come to life, you know, and you're going to notice them. In the mix, you probably won't. So then we go on to the vocal. I had to lower it down because of the copyright, I guess. And yeah, so the main vocal.
You, but I know I need to. I know I need to.
So the main vocal actually has a lot of processing. First I'm using the vocal bender to lower the formant down and the pitch down for 3 semitones, and on the pitch 4 semitones, just to make it in key with the whole track. Then I have a Fruity Convolver, which is basically like a reverb plugin for FL Studio, and then an EQ cutting off the bass or the sub from the vocal, because I don't need it, from 108 Hertz and down. Then I have Jam Dopamine, which is cranked up all the way up to give maximum saturation and some compression also. So this is what makes the vocal louder and makes it pop out more in the mix. Then I have little micro shift. Now maybe I should have put little micro shift under Jam Dopamine. Maybe not. I have no idea. You can test. You can experiment. And for the little micro shift, I think I have just like 1% or 2%. 8.8% on the first, like the thing. And this makes the vocal have more space, makes the vocal wider in the mix and louder in the mix. Like, it's an illusion of loudness because it's stereo, and stereo can be heard better than, but yeah, makes it look or sound wider. We can show that.
You, but I know I need to. I know I need to.
So this is without the
I'm
gen
scared to
dopamine.
leave you, but I know I
This is
need
with.
to. I know I need to. I know I need to.
This
I
is
need
little
to
micro
set you
shift.
free. Move on with your life.
Alright, so that's what that sounds like. And then I have a Valhalla delay with a duck tape, which basically means it's going to duck every time the vocal is singing. The delay is going to duck down. Basically means that the volume of the delay is going to be lowered to the percentage that I set here. I put it on 100%. And I also put a feedback on 38, so it doesn't go on for too long, but it just goes for a little. The mix is on 13%, so it's just in the background. And the difference, I think that this is the difference, maybe it's not, but diff amount is on 11%. Diffusion, diffusion controls the amount of diffusion in delay. What that basically means, I have no idea, but it sounds like this. I will show you.
I know I need to. I know I need to. I need to set you free. Move on with your life. Just let you be.
Yeah, so that's what it does. Okay, so after Valhalla delay, I have a wider plugin which is set to 0, but I'm automating it over here in this white line. This one, I'm automating the wideness of the vocal.
But I know I need to.
And that can be heard the most in this part.
Again, this pen, and now that I'm thinking again, I'm not scared to leave you, because I know I need to.
I do this just to create some dynamics in the vocal thing, so it doesn't get boring too fast, you know? Or it like accentuates, is that even a word? To make the vocal more interesting throughout the track. And our human ears also like when things change in like when something is up front and then it's going to the back and it's up front and it's like our ears like that, so it's nice to hear and also sounds good. After wider, I have kickstart, which is just a sidechain on the vocal, which I also automate so it doesn't. So the sidechain is not active when there is no kick, right? You don't want, preferably, I guess, you don't want the sidechain to be active when there is no kick, because then the vocal is just going to pump for no reason, and at least that's what I think. And after that we have Endless Smile, which is basically this guy who gets happy when it's about to drop and then gets sad when it drops. But this plugin is just a collection of effects that you automate with this knob, and it makes for like good drops, or if you want a quick effect on your plugin, or sorry, the vocal or whatever you put it on. So it sounds like this.
I believe for you, I'm on set. Fuck that. I love you, but I love my freedom too. I know what I must do. Please, I believe for you, I'm on set.
So I just automated a little bit. The knob moves on its own. But yeah, that's it. So, and I also have the main vocal going into this track here. That is basically just you can look at it as a top layer just in the background to add some crispiness to the overall vocal. I don't know if it's needed, I put it there, but yeah. It has a vocal bender, it's put all the way up to 12, 1 octave up from the actual vocal, and it has like some reverb on it and an EQ, so it doesn't have the bass. Yeah, sounds like that. So that is for the main vocal. Then I have the back vocal. It sounds like this. That is what it sounds like with all the effects on. For the distorted sound, I use Devil Lock from Soundtoys. And it basically just distorts the sound. You can do the same thing with a limiter. You just put a limiter on, limit it to a certain decibel or loudness, and then crank the volume up. Above that loudness is going to distort when it hits the ceiling. soothe, so it just takes off some of the harshness. Gem dopamine to make it more saturated, louder, more saucier. Through the EQ, I was making space here for the main vocal, and I was making space in the top end for the heads and the other sounds. So the EQ looks like this. I cut off 200 Hz basically, so it doesn't have any bass. And after that, the delay. The delay is like 1/2 delay. That's cool. Some reverb from the Valhalla plate. Little micro shift, a lot of it to make it like sound cool and weird and wide. So that's what it sounds like. And kickstart to sidechain it so it doesn't interfere with the kick so much and makes it pump. Also, I'm automating the sidechain so it doesn't activate when there is no kick. Okay, so that is for the vocal. Then we go on to the instruments. That is the extracted instrumental guitar thing from the actual song. And I think I lowered it down 5 cents, 500 cents, or a pitch to -5. Also the channel volume to -11 dB. And for the processing, I have 3D parametric EQ, Shack, transient shaper, Valhalla plate, Cymatics origin. This makes for some movement. It goes like woo, 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 woo. That's what this plugin does. Makes it like a vintage, like a vintage radio that's like wavy, wavy. And a kickstart that activates also when there is a kick, so it makes the track pump and make space for the kick. So then we have these little things which are almost inaudible. This is just like some lead or whatever that follows the melody of the guitar. Altogether it sounds like this. It makes a small difference when looking at the whole thing. It fills up some space in the mix. It's very low, but it's basically just a distorted sine, like flute or some shit like that. It's also like a preset from Serum. So this is the, I don't know what this is. Okay, yeah, that's the one. So it's just a chromatic colors lead. So that's the one, and then we have some plugs here. This is from Fabian Mazur, Vital Serum presets. That's from him. That's the sound, and this is the. I don't even know. You cannot hear this, but I guess it's. Is this like plug? So just subtle things, subtle instrumental things, because the vocal is taking up much of the space, and the instruments are just to complement the vocal and the whole track. It just fill up the space. So that is for the instruments, and now for the big part of the whole thing that makes the low end sound good. So I didn't say this part when I was talking about the bass, but so it goes like this. All of these instruments are going into 2 channels, and in these 2 channels over here, I'm separating the lows and the highs of all instruments that are being used here. And all of these tracks are connected to the main bus, for the instrument bus, and that instrument bus groups all these tracks, so I don't have to group these individually. I just take the whole group and then I connect it down here to the highs and the lows. On the high channel, I have it cut at 250 Hertz, so everything above 250 Hertz you can hear. And on the low, I cut out the lows from 250 Hertz and down, you can hear. And I also cut it off at 83 Hz because I don't want the sub for those instruments to interfere with my kick and the bass. And then the high bus, the channel, goes into the master channel because I don't need any more processing on it. So this is done. But for the low bass part of the instrument goes into the low end bass, right? And this is also where I send my basses to. So the bass bass also goes into the low bass, and the kick bass also goes into the low end bass. And in the low end bass is where I keep all my bass, right? I keep my all low end from the track in the bass bass, and what I use to make my bass sound good is bass room. So the bass room analyzes your bass in the track, your low end in the track, and it makes like a EQ thing for you to follow. So basically I just play the track, and basically what bass room does is create these, like, you see, like these little lines here, and then you can like move it up or down. Basically these colors here are like frequencies. It's like an EQ. So this is like 160 hertz, 300 hertz, 80 hertz down here, 40 hertz, and 20 to 0 hertz. So it makes like an EQ, and you can just press here and pick one of the presets or whatever to give you like a recommendation for your bass, the whole bass. And this is how my bass stays leveled, and this is the whole thing. So this is the secret sauce for the low end. So yeah, just to repeat, I have for the bass, I put it in the bass bus and I send it to the low end channel. And for the instruments, I separate it into highs and the low end into the low end, and then that low end goes into the low end bus. And for the kick also, because every bass element in the track is going into the low end bus, and then I just process it all with the bass room preset. And what you see down here is just a fruity parametric EQ that cuts off all the bass. Now this is not me cutting off all the bass, but this is actually the automation that I have up here, which is called bass on/off. And when it's up, it's on, not the bass, but the cutoff. And when it's off, you can hear the bass. This just makes easier for me to remove the bass and introduce the bass in the track, and it's quicker. So I remove the bass here, and then I introduce it back there. So that's the big thing about the low end. And then the FX bus. The FX bus is pretty simple, straightforward. I just use some fills, you know, things like this. It's just like a little shaker down here, and some hats. And in this new version of FL, you can like do what you can do also in Ableton, but you can do it in FL. Woo! Right now, and yeah. So for this one, for just a hat, you know, I don't think I have to say anything about that. And for this is like a cool snare fill. I also made it wide, 10%, 11% left, and it's pretty low in the mix. And then we have the delay and reverbed clap that just goes off. Then we have some loops here for the build-up. Some white noise, the snare again, and the clap combined. Then the clap throughout the thing to just fill up the space. And that's basically what repeats. On this part I have like this reverse clap. That sounds like this when it's in the full. So yeah, that's the thing. And yeah, okay, so those are the FX. The FX also have their own bus. Not much processing, just the reverb, delay. Yeah, that's basically just a reverb and delay for that one clap. I cut off 50 hertz. Maybe I could cut off like more, but anyway, it's just the effects. And effects usually come in the parts where there is no kick or bass. So you can like maybe leave the sub because it's not going to interfere with anything else in the track, and yeah, it's not gonna be a problem. So that's basically the whole track. Maybe I could go off to some automations, maybe not, but yeah, that's the whole track over here. I hope you guys learned something from this, and I hope you're going to make your productions better. And with this information that I gave you, hopefully you can learn from me. And yeah, that's basically it. Enjoy, guys. See you in the next one.